Hi, Bernie Bobcats. Happy Wednesday. It's Miss Carlson here again to work on some elapsed time with you for math. I did want to give some shout outs. I have seen and heard from a lot of teachers that you are watching these videos and asking questions and working on the problems. So kudos to you. I really hope these are helping you. If you have any specific questions, again, if we're working on one during your work, please send a picture and ask your teacher. You can watch these videos as many times as you need to. Monday and Tuesday, our videos they went over hours and 5-minute increments. Today, we're gonna go a little bit more into the minutes. So if you can remember, we've been working on elapsed time. So I know you know this definition by now. So I know you know that elapsed time is the amount of time that passes between two events. So we've worked on 3 different types of elapsed time word problems. We've worked on ones where you know the start of an event and the end, and you're finding the elapsed time. We've worked on word problems where you know what time the event starts and you know how long it lasts, but you're looking for what time it ends. And then we worked on one yesterday where we knew the end time and we knew how long it lasted, but we did not know the start time. Those are the ones that you have to start with the end in mind. So you really have to use your word problem 4 steps that I know we've worked on this year in my class. But for everyone, read those word problems and really dissect. What does it want me to solve? What am I looking for? What do I know? What do I not know? And then you know how you're going to start your number line, okay? So I'm going to pull up our lesson plans. Oops, I got really good at this, I thought. Here we go. All right, so here are our plans for today. It's day 3, so it's Wednesday. So you have a math word problem warm-up. So I'm gonna challenge you to solve that word problem before you watch me solve it. So if you haven't solved it yet, go look at that word problem, pause the video, solve it, and then watch me solve it, because that's gonna be the first one I'm gonna work on with you. And then you've got some in your workbook to do today. And then there's another elapsed time problem at the bottom. So just again, I heard that one of Miss Swan's students asked her about the mountains, the hills, and the rocks, so good job. So mountains are worth 1 hour. Hills are worth 5-minute increments, and your rocks are only worth 1 minute, okay? So here's one picture right here of this one specifically. I like how it shows the number line. And it actually has one that goes back and one that goes forward. So you can see that one on the additional resources. So today we're gonna solve the word problem warm up. So it says right here, I'm gonna make it bigger for this. It's gonna be a little blurry. Okay. It says Ryan and Raquel started playing with their iPads at 2:00 p.m. If they played for 2 hours and 15 minutes, at what time did they finish playing? So I know a couple things by looking at this word problem. I know that they started playing at 2 p.m. I know that they played for 2 hours and 15 minutes. What I do not know is what time they stopped playing. That's what I'm solving for. So I don't know their finish time. So I'm gonna start at the beginning of my number line and hop the amount of time that they played to see what time they finished playing, okay? So I'm gonna go and share the screen. I think I'm getting really good at this. I hope so. Okay, here we go. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and draw my number line. So once again, if you haven't solved it yet, solve it on your own and check with mine, but check with it now, okay? So I drew my number line. At the top, I'm gonna write what I know. So I know they started playing at 2:00. And by the way, it says PM. Some word problems give you PM, some don't give you PM or AM, but if one gives you PM or AM, you need to answer the question in PM or AM. Very important to remember that. So they started playing at 2 p.m. and they played for 2 hours and 15 minutes. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and draw my start time right here. So 2:00 p.m. And then I don't know my end time, okay? So it's a question mark for right now. So I usually write start and end because remember, some word problems, you know the start and the end, you just don't know the elapsed time, okay? So they're gonna play for 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead up here and I'm going to draw 2 hours. Who can remember? Is it mountains, hills, or rocks that stand for hours? I want you to think. Mountains, hills, or rocks. If you said mountains, give yourself a brain kiss. All right, so we've got 2 mountains that we're gonna draw, and then 15 minutes. Now, You totally could draw 15 rocks because they're all worth 1 minute. We are smart third graders at Bernie Elementary, and we want to think about that in 5-minute increments. So do a little math. 15 divided by 5 will tell you how many hills you need to do. So what is 15 divided by 5? You said 3, brain kisses as well. Okay, so we're gonna do, because this would be 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and 5 plus 5 plus 5 is 15, okay? So 2 hours and 15 minutes. So if you're ready, do it with me. We're gonna do it in color because I figured out how to do that today. All right, so 2 p.m., we're gonna do a mountain and always write the time in the middle, okay? So 1 hour, that doesn't quite look like a mountain, but you get the gist, okay? All right, so 2 o'clock, all we're adding is an hour, no minutes yet. So my 2 o'clock, the next hour, I'm looking at my handy dandy clock. There we go. My next hour after 2 o'clock is 3 o'clock. Okay, so now it's 3 p.m. So they've played for an hour. Okay, now they're gonna play for another hour. So I had 3 o'clock and I'm adding an hour. So I'm going to go to 4 o'clock. Okay, I'm gonna write my hour. So now we're at 4 p.m. Okay, so now we're gonna add our hills. So 15-minute increments. 5-minute increments. All right, so the hour's not changing. It's gonna be 4 something because we're only worried about the minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw my hills. I'm gonna go ahead and write 5 within each of the hills because I know they're worth 5 minutes. So now the 4 o'clock, the 4 is not changing because the hour is not changing. We're only worried about minutes. So it's gonna be 4 something. So after our o'clock, which as you know, okay, 4 o'clock. If you move the hand 5, now we're at the o'clock, which isn't the 12. If we move it 5 minutes, we end up at 4:05. Good, 4:05, okay? PM. I need a pen for this. Okay, 5 more minutes. So after 4:05, I gotta get used to doing this backwards, comes 4:10 p.m. And then finally, just 5 more minutes comes 4:15. So they finish playing the games at 4:15, and do not forget PM. Okay, so the answer to that question is 4:15 p.m. So if you got it, give yourself a brain kiss. If you did not, we're gonna keep working on it, okay? So I'm gonna see if I can clear this. That is so fancy, just learning so many new things. All right, so I'm gonna do one more with you, because I don't know if on the problem so far we've known a start and an end time. I think I showed one yesterday, but go back and look. But if you are still struggling, well, Ms. Carlson, I know the start time and I know the end time. How do I figure out all the humps in between? I'm gonna work with you now. All right, so let's do our number line. All right. Let's say Bernie Elementary begins school at 7:05. Is it 7:05? 7:10. Oh my goodness, not 7:10, Ms. Carlson, 7:50. I'm sorry. All right, so Bernie Elementary begins school at 7:50. I don't know why it's not letting me. There we go. Okay, let me clear this. All right, so school begins at 7:50. I was having some technical difficulties. 7:50 a.m., okay? We get out of school. Now the bell rings at the end of the day, and I had to think about this the other day. I was like, what time do we really get out? So the bell rings at 2:05 is normally when Ms. Howard comes on for her announcements and we start dismissal. So we're gonna say the school day ends at 2:05 p.m. because we've moved past 12, okay? So we know that school starts at 7:50 and school ends at 2:05. How long are we in school every day? We're gonna find out. So we know start time and we know end time. We don't know the elapsed time. That will be what we were solving for. So we're gonna start, I'm gonna think to myself first, 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. I know that 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. is a good bit of hours. So I'm gonna start by adding with my mountains, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and get my blue mountains ready. I'm gonna first write my start time, so 7:50. I'm gonna write start, end, okay? 7:50 a.m. So I'm gonna start adding some mountains, some hours first, because I know that it's gotta be, it's longer. That's a pretty long day. I know we're not at school for less than an hour. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw my mountains. So 7:50, 1 hour. So only the hour is changing. So 7:50, the next hour after 7, if I get out my handy dandy clock, the next, hour after 7 is 8. So 8:50 a.m. because we've not moved past the lunch hour. We've not moved past noon, past 12, where it goes into p.m. All right, so I'm going to keep on that strategy. So if you're with me, put HR for short. So after 8:50, we have not 9:50 because just the hour changes. And we're going to have another hour. And after 9:50, the next hour after 9, what number comes after 9? 10:50. So we're getting there. We're getting a little closer. Okay. 1 hour. So after 10:50, that looks like an 11, but actually what comes next is 11:50. We got another hour. Okay. After 11:50 a.m., then the hour after 11, it becomes 12:50, but it's no longer a.m. because we've gone past noon. So now it's 12:50 p.m. Okay. All right. So we're getting really close. We're getting close to 2. So after 12:50 becomes, what comes after 12? So this is the part I don't want you to forget. On a clock, 12 o'clock, the next hour is 1 o'clock, okay? So think about it. Remember that clockwise that we talked about. So after 12 o'clock, it goes back to 1 o'clock. There's no 13 o'clock, no 14 o'clock. That's military time. It's a little different, but we're just talking in the standard time. So 12:50, so we'll have 1:50 p.m. All right, so now I'm thinking if I add another hour to 1:50, the next hour would be 2:50, and that's going to be past my end time. So I think I'm done with my hours, okay? So I'm done with how many hours we spend in the classroom. So now what I'm going to do is add any minutes left that I can. So 1:50. So I'm thinking how many minutes is it to the next hour? So if I'm at 50 minutes, I need to get to, how many minutes are an hour? 60 minutes. Good. So I'm going to do 60 minus 50 in my mind, and I'm a third grader, and I know that's 10 minutes. So now I'm going to add a hill of 10 minutes. So now it's 1:50, 10 minutes. Now it's 2 p.m. And guess what? I just have to get to 2:05. 2:05, 2 o'clock. The difference is how many minutes? 5 minutes, okay? So you're probably thinking, well, Ms. Carlson, I don't have an answer. We already knew the start and the end. You showed your answer on the number line. Now you need to add up all of the hours and the minutes that you found in between start and end, and that gives you the elapsed time, the amount of time spent between the beginning of the morning when the bell rings and the end of the day when the bell rings, okay? So I'm gonna add up my hours. So I have 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour, 5 hour, 6 hours, 6 hours. And I'm going to add up my hills. 10 minutes plus 5 minutes equals 15 minutes. Okay, so from beginning to end of the day, when the bell rings, and then when it rings at the end of the day, you spend a total of 6 hours and 15 minutes at Bernie Elementary. And trust me, we all miss you being at Bernie Elementary. We miss being there too. So this would be the answer because you were looking for the amount of time spent together, not start, not end, but the total time in the middle, okay? So those are my 2 problems for today. I'm gonna challenge you to do that second problem. Let's see if I know how to do this. No, it won't let me. Okay. All right, so now I'm gonna challenge you. Move this for a second. This word problem right here, It says Tanya read 2 chapters of her book. She started reading at 8:30 a.m. and stopped reading 45 minutes later. At what time did she finish reading? If you can solve that problem on a piece of scratch paper, send a picture into your teacher. I would love to give you a special shout out. So solve that problem about Tanya on day 3 for math. Send it into your teacher. And then we will definitely have to give you a big shout out. By the way, look at that one. It only says 45 minutes. So think about the mountain's worth an hour. 45 minutes, is that less than an hour? Greater than an hour? It's up to you to figure out. But great job. Awesome work doing everything that you've been doing. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to your teachers. And if they need anything, they can reach out to me. So have a great afternoon, Bobcat.